Batman Part 2 has officially been pushed to February 2028, so now we have another year and a half to analyze 10 seconds of camera test footage, convince ourselves that every actor is secretly playing Harvey Dent, and identify the Court of Owls in the background of every single set photo. And I will be participating. But instead of spending the entire wait refreshing rumor threads, I wanted to find the movies that might actually prepare us for what Matt Reeves is cooking. Not just movies that look like the Batman. These 11 films move through old money, corruption, secret societies, obsession, and identity. 5 stages of the same case, each taking us further into Gotham. And the movie at the very end isn't really a recommendation. It's a warning for what Batman may become if his crusade of vengeance gets out of hand. Here's what we can stand on right now. The movie is in production. Gotham is entering winter. Matt Reeves has said Bruce Wayne will move closer to the center, and Eric Messerschmidt, the cinematographer behind David Fincher's Mank and The Killer, is shooting the movie. There is no official plot or confirmed main villain, but the direction appears clear. It's going to be colder, more personal, and take place deeper inside Gotham's systems. So, we start with the snow. The obvious place to begin is David Fincher's The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. A journalist and a hacker investigate a decades-old disappearance connected to one of Sweden's wealthiest families. Everyone has money and secrets, and nobody seems remotely normal. Standard billionaire family behavior. What makes it relevant isn't only the frozen landscape. Wealth doesn't merely hide the crime. It allowed the crime to exist for this long. The Riddler exposed people maintaining Gotham's system. Part 2 may ask who financed it, inherited it, and now plans to rebuild it. If you want to see what a winter investigation in Gotham might look like when every building feels like a potential crime scene, this is where you should start. Then watch Insomnia, where the problem isn't endless darkness, it's that the sun never goes down. Al Pacino plays a detective investigating a murder in Alaska. He can't sleep. His judgment falls apart, and the case becomes an interrogation of the investigator himself. Dragon Tattoo makes its detectives sharper. Insomnia shows the opposite. Sometimes a case doesn't reveal who you are, it removes your ability to keep pretending. Going deeper into Bruce Wayne may not only mean uncovering Wayne family history, it could mean watching the investigation find the exact part of Bruce he created Batman to avoid. Watch this for a massively underrated Al Pacino performance and a rare Robin Williams villain role. Nobody in Michael Clayton wears a mask or leaves riddles. That is exactly why its corruption feels so realistic. George Clooney plays a fixer for a massive law firm. When rich clients create problems, he makes them disappear. The movie presents corruption as a service industry. Lawyers, executives, settlements, and people discussing horrifying decisions over expensive tables. Rebuilding Gotham means contracts, developers, charities, and corporations deciding which neighborhoods matter and who gets paid. The next villain may not be one psychopath exploiting the disaster. Could be the entire city seeing a business opportunity. Basically, Gotham gets flooded and immediately becomes even more corrupt. Michael Clayton gives us just one company. JFK gives us the entire country. Oliver Stone follows Jim Garrison investigating Kennedy's assassination. But the film is really about going down a rabbit hole. Every answer creates 3 more questions. Garrison is moving like Batman with an evidence board and absolutely no concept of work-life balance. The system barely has to destroy him. It can let the investigation consume his career, family, and reputation. Batman will always keep going. The question is, how much of Bruce Wayne he is willing to spend to do that. The Parallax view is probably the deepest cut here, and maybe the purest Court of Owls movie ever made without featuring the Court of Owls. Warren Beatty plays a journalist investigating suspicious deaths around a political assassination. The trail leads to a corporation recruiting assassins with the professionalism of a company hiring salespeople. There is no speech explaining the conspiracy. The organization simply exists, with offices, procedures, and apparently a strong onboarding program. The film constantly makes its hero look tiny against government buildings and massive empty spaces. If Bruce is facing something embedded in Gotham for generations, this is the blueprint. One man fighting a machine that barely acknowledges he is there. From here, we enter the rumor mill. Reports and theories involve Harvey Dent, Victor Zsasz, Poison Ivy, and half of Batman's rogues gallery. But the theory that refuses to die throughout the years is the Court of Owls, Gotham's oldest families controlling the city. None of that is confirmed. The internet is simply going off trails and Easter eggs that are leading absolutely nowhere on Reddit forums. But if the sequel is moving towards old money, conspiracy, and hidden power, the next films I'm going to discuss become very relevant. Eyes Wide Shut follows a wealthy doctor who uses a password to enter a masked gathering held by people far more powerful than him. The movie understands something most secret society stories miss. These people aren't hiding because they fear the consequences. They operate at a level where normal consequences barely even exist. The mask isn't only a disguise, it proves that you belong in the room. Bruce Wayne may be Gotham's most famous billionaire, but that doesn't mean he is one of the people controlling it. And Bruce could enter rooms that Batman could never. If Part 2 puts Pattinson inside wealthy Gotham while everyone smiles and quietly decides the city's future, Eyes Wide Shut is mandatory viewing. A Cure for Wellness takes the same world of old money and hidden rituals and goes full gothic horror. A young executive travels to a wellness center in the Swiss Alps to retrieve his company's CEO. Nobody wants to leave, everyone claims the treatment works, and everyone looks like they died 3 weeks ago. It's a long movie, deeply strange, and eventually starts swinging at every pitch, missing most of them. But no other movie turns inherited wealth into something this cursed. The entire place is built around bloodlines and the belief that certain families deserve to continue forever. If Gotham's corruption began generations before Falcone, this is what that rot might feel like once it becomes architecture. Dark City is a noir mystery set in a city where it's always night. Nobody remembers seeing the sun, and the buildings rearrange themselves while everyone sleeps. People wake up with different memories and lives without realizing anything changed. It's the purest example here of a city as a character, deciding what people remember, who they are, and what lives they can have. That's Gotham at its best. It's not just a backdrop, but a machine producing Batman, Riddlers, and Penguins. The hero doesn't win because he can punch harder. He wins because he begins to understand the rules of the place trapping him. That is the evolution Bruce started at the end of the Batman. The Game may be the closest Bruce Wayne movie on this list, and there isn't a superhero or cape in sight. Michael Douglas plays Nicholas Van Orton, a billionaire whose life froze when his father died. He has money, control, a massively empty house, and the warmth of a corporate lobby. Then, a mysterious company creates a personalized game that throws his life into complete chaos. Douglas is Bruce Wayne if he never became Batman, a wealthy orphan controlling everything around him, only to discover how fragile that control is. The first film understood Batman. Part 2 may force Bruce to understand Bruce, and Bruce might genuinely be the more unstable identity of the two. Go into the game blind. David Fincher spends 2 hours pulling every string in the book, and you'll never see where it ends up going. 2 US Marshals arrive at an island hospital for the criminally insane. A patient vanished from a locked room. A hurricane is coming, and the staff is obviously lying. If Gotham has a Shutter Island, it's Arkham Asylum. In Reeves' world, Arkham isn't only a prison, it's Bruce's family history, his mother's institutionalization, and everything Thomas Wayne tried to bury. Watch Scorsese's film as a rehearsal for Batman entering an institution that answers to nobody. Some investigations don't end with an arrest. Sometimes the investigator discovers he's been part of the case the entire time. The final film is I Saw the Devil, and this one is The Warning. A secret agent's fiance is murdered by a serial killer. He finds the killer surprisingly early. In most movies, that would be the ending. Here, it's just a setup. The agent catches him, tortures him, releases him, and hunts him again, over and over. It's extremely brutal, not a Sunday afternoon recommendation, but it takes Batman's central moral question further than almost any Batman movie ever could. How much cruelty can someone justify before the distinction between hunter and hunted stops mattering? The phrase defining Bruce at the beginning of the Batman is vengeance. By the end, he realizes vengeance can't be enough, but understanding that once doesn't solve him. If pain remains Bruce's primary relationship with Gotham, he must confront what it is turning him into. I Saw the Devil is the darkest possible version of that path. A man begins with the reason we understand, then keeps going until understanding him becomes much harder. That's why it ends the list. Together, these 11 movies start looking like chapters of the same story. A murder beneath a powerful family becomes a corporate cover-up. The corporation becomes a political system. The system hides behind masks and inheritance. Eventually, the whole city feels involved. And at the center is one damaged person who keeps digging until the case forces him to look at himself. I don't know what the Batman Part 2 will be. Nobody outside the production does. But this feels like the territory Reeves could be entering. Corruption deeper than Falcone. A mystery that challenges Bruce as much as Batman. And villains who may not be standing in dark alleys. They may be in boardrooms, courtrooms, private clubs, and rooms Bruce has been allowed into his entire life. So instead of spending the next year and a half just waiting, spread these films across the gap. Some are more obvious, some are deep cuts, and if you may completely change what you want from the sequel. If this is your kind of film conversation, subscribe. That's what Grand Films is for. Stories worth remembering.